Among the beasts of the muscle car era, the Oldsmobile Toronado stood out, especially the custom 70X edition. Unlike any ordinary car, this was a full-size luxury heavyweight when front-wheel drive technology in the American car market was practically unheard of. So why was the Toronado such a big deal? For starters, Oldsmobile didn't shy away from power. It loaded up the Toronado with a massive V8 engine. But instead of powering the rear wheels, all that power went to the front. Yes, the Toronado was taking a front-wheel drive to places Detroit hadn't dared before, and it looked incredible. By 1967, Oldsmobile pushed the boundaries even further, thanks to a special collaboration with the legendary car designer, George Barris, the mastermind behind the original Batmobile. For Canada's Expo '67 in Montreal, Barris transformed the Toronado into the eye-catching 70X, a car that screamed, "Look at me!" With its one-of-a-kind styling, flashy details, and custom build, it was like no other. But this wasn't just a showpiece. The 70X embodied Oldsmobile's vision of mixing luxury with futuristic tech and daring design. What kind of wild new features were hidden under the hood? And how did Barris's craftsmanship take this Toronado into the stratosphere? This was no ordinary car. It was the very definition of automotive rebellion, wrapped in style and swagger, making a statement as powerful as the engine it housed. When the Oldsmobile Toronado hit the streets in 1966, it was more than just eye candy. It was a technical marvel. This full-size coupe boasted a 425 cubic inch rocket V8 under the hood, delivering an impressive 385 horsepower and a crushing 475 pound-force-foot of torque. This engine wasn't just for show, it defined the Tornado's bold identity, balancing power, and style in ways that set it apart from anything else on the road. With a stiffened suspension and a unique front torsion bar system, the Toronado offered a ride quality that suited both its weighty drivetrain and its sporty persona. And let's not forget the semi-unibody E-body platform, which kept vibrations low for a smooth, almost luxurious experience. The design? Sleek fastback lines, hidden headlights, and a spacious, comfortable cabin, all elements that made it impossible to ignore. Even better, the Toronado handled far better than most expected from a front-wheel drive car. Sure, there was a bit of understeer due to the weight distribution, but for the era, the handling was surprisingly composed and stable, winning praise from drivers and critics alike. Oldsmobile's E-body chassis didn't go unnoticed by its General Motors siblings either. Buick and Cadillac each took the E-body in their directions. Buick used it to build the second-generation Riviera but stuck with a rear-wheel drive layout, while Cadillac amped up the luxury by launching the 1967 E-body Eldorado, which eventually packed a massive 500 cubic inch V8 with 550 pound force-foot of torque. And Oldsmobile? They upped the ante themselves, adding a 455 cubic inch rocket V8 with 375 horsepower and a 510 pound force-foot of torque to the Toronado lineup in 1968. I'm sure talking of Toronado, you remember the success of Oldsmobile's UPP system, which was so profound that it found a second life beyond passenger cars. It powered the iconic GMC motorhome throughout the 1970s. For a car built as a daring experiment, the Toronado proved its mettle, from city streets to highways and even to the open road with GMC's RVs. Slide inside, and the 70X offers a refined but uniquely quirky interior. The front features 2 bucket seats and a back bench, a nod to luxury with a practical twist. But the real showstopper was the speedometer, a slot machine-style dial that rotated to reveal numbers through a thin line. Even the door handles were unconventional, tucked on the rear so backseat passengers could let themselves out in style. Then there's the heart of the beast, a 425 cubic inch V8 engine, sending all that muscle to the front wheels through a custom 3-speed automatic transmission. This front-wheel drive setup was groundbreaking in the mid-60s, a clear leap into the future. Although front-wheel drive had been seen before in American cars like the Accords of the 1930s, it had never been combined with this level of power or luxury. But the magic didn't stop there. When George Barris, yes, the same man behind the original Batmobile, got his hands on the 1967 Toronado, he transformed it into the 70XA, an automotive work of art for Expo '67 in Montreal. Barris amplified the fender protrusions, stretched them back for added drama, and adorned the car with extra chrome, from side vents to fluted indicator housings. The interior went from luxurious to lavish with tan leather, wood accents, and a wraparound rear couch with a fold-out writing desk. It's no wonder collectors line up to add a Barris original to their garage. The Toronado 70X was a head-turner in its heyday, and thanks to its unique blend of elegance, power, and Barris flair, it still has the power to captivate decades later. Would you call it Barris's finest creation? Well, maybe that's up for debate. But there's no question that this future-forward muscle car will always be one of the most exotic rides to roll off the Oldsmobile line. The story of the Oldsmobile Toronado's groundbreaking front-wheel drive actually began almost a decade before it hit the road. General Motors had been experimenting with the idea since the mid-1950s, wondering if a front-wheel drive layout could shake things up for its entry-level cars. They'd come up with what they called the Unitized Power Package, UPP, a design that merged the engine and transaxle into a single compact unit. But why front-wheel drive, you ask? For General Motors, it wasn't just about being different. By putting more weight over the front wheels, they could improve traction, a major plus for handling. Plus, with no need for a driveshaft running through the middle, front-wheel drive meant a completely flat floor, creating more interior space, a real win for comfort. The concept made its first public appearance in 1955 with two experimental models, the LaSalle 2 and the L Universal. Each vehicle showcased a different take on the unitized power package, with the LaSalle 2 using a high-tech V6 and the L Universal trying out a production Pontiac V8. Despite the hype, neither concept car was fully functional. Still, GM saw promise and decided to put Oldsmobile in charge of taking this vision forward, starting in 1957. Initially, the UPP was aimed at small, economy-focused cars with 6-cylinder engines mounted sideways to save space. But eventually, they even tried out a lightweight V8 from Buick's lineup, shaving off weight and opening up new possibilities for performance. As the development costs started piling up, GM realized that front-wheel drive wasn't quite right for the compact, budget-friendly models they'd originally envisioned. Instead, they began looking at high-end models that could handle the added cost, paving the way for something as bold and upscale as the Toronado. Around the early 1960s, Oldsmobile had its sights set on one major goal: creating a car that could stand toe-to-toe with heavyweights like the Ford Thunderbird, which had evolved from a sporty roadster into a refined personal luxury coupe in Buick's popular Riviera. By 1963, Oldsmobile was ready to take a shot at the big leagues with a powerful front-wheel drive design, featuring a unique version of the Unitized Power Package, UPP. This setup paired a large displacement V8 engine with a 3-speed turbo hydromatic transaxle, mounted side-by-side in a layout that could fit into a surprisingly compact space on any GM platform. With the market already primed for high-priced luxury coupes, Oldsmobile had the perfect reason to push for a piece of the premium market while flexing its engineering muscle. After all, front-wheel drive was still a novelty in American cars, and debuting GM's first front-wheel drive setup in a luxury model would create a huge buzz. To make sure their front-wheel drive could handle the rigors of high-performance cruising, GM rigorously tested the UPP with its biggest, torque-hungry V8s, ensuring the drivetrain wouldn't just handle the power, but also deliver a smooth, comfortable ride. But Oldsmobile didn't stop with just the mechanics. The styling had to be unforgettable. Enter David North, assistant to Oldsmobile's head of styling Stan Weiland, who in 1962 sketched out a striking concept with sleek lines and a muscular stance. Though initially designed for a smaller car, North's concept was so well received that it was scaled up to become the full-size Toronado we know today. What came next was Oldsmobile's shot at carving its name into the luxury car market and, ultimately, automotive history. The Oldsmobile Toronado stood out as a remarkable example of American engineering excellence, becoming only the second American car to be recognized in Europe. It earned a notable third-place finish for European Car of the Year in 1966, a significant achievement for an American vehicle at the time. In its debut year, the Toronado saw strong sales with nearly 41,000 units sold. However, in 1967, sales took a sharp 50% downturn, partly due to the arrival of Cadillac's front-wheel drive Eldorado, which introduced a new option in the luxury coupe market. From 1968 to 1970, around 50,000 Toronados were sold, just before a complete redesign marked the arrival of the more boxy second-generation model. This redesign transformed the Toronado from a sleek, bold statement in styling to a much larger, rectangular form that, for many, lost the charm of the original. The first-generation Toronado still stands out for its unforgettable presence. There's a distinct difference in how one reacts to seeing the sleek 66 model compared to the larger 1971 version. That first generation's unique appeal makes it iconic, drawing a deeper sense of awe that later models could never quite replicate. Would you go the extra mile to own this car? Let us know in the comments below. And don't hesitate to share your car adventures. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of the iconic Toronado in our Rare Cars documentary series. If you enjoyed this episode, a like and share with fellow enthusiasts would mean a lot. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated on more documentary-style videos about the world's most intriguing cars.